As I was thinking about the script for this video, I realized I actually don't have any wedding cake tips because I forgot to get a wedding cake on my wedding. Yeah, classic Ina, kind of embarrassing. Honestly, a pretty good wedding, and it only cost $2,000 for me out of pocket. Maybe it was less even. And I had 80 guests to impress. I'm gonna share all the different ways. In fact, it's about 10 tips on how to save money on your wedding. I'm gonna talk photography, dress, food, flowers, decorations, venue, you name it, I'm talking about it. Even if you're already married, maybe, save this for your daughter like 20 years from now. Subscribe if you are into personal finances and you just want to make your wallet behave. This is the channel for you. Let's get started right away. First, we're going to talk about the wedding dress, one of the most important picks and how to save money on it. It's unfair, isn't it? Here you are in your 20s, you've already found the love of your life, and you're expected to invite 100+ people that you're going to pay for, but you're competing with women getting married in maybe their 40s. They're well established in their career, having these amazing, dreamy Pinterest weddings. Look, I'm all for if you are 40 and you get married. I have nothing against that. I celebrate you. I'm just saying, hard to keep up. It's hard because it puts us in our young 20s who get married in an awkward position because everybody go to these elaborate weddings and then they come to yours. You want to make sure that at the very least, your wedding is not an embarrassment, okay? So in order to talk about the tips on a dress, I have a genius trick for you here. And in fact, I'm wearing a white dress for the occasion. I did consider wearing my wedding dress, but then I was like, that's kind of socially awkward. So I did the next best thing and I wore a white dress that was not my wedding dress. I mean, this could have been my wedding dress. It's a pretty nice dress. But here's my tip. You know what my wedding dress cost? I think it was something like 15 American dollars. And everybody complimented on it and said it looked amazing and said I looked like a beautiful bride. Now, here's the thing, they will probably say that regardless. They're kind of meant to say that. It's kind of etiquette to compliment the bride kind of regardless what they're wearing. But still, now trust me, I wanted a beautiful, huge ball gown, maybe in blush, maybe with glitter and all of that. Yes, I wanted to be extra on my wedding day, but I was on a budget. So what ended up happening is I actually one day mistakenly, a few days before my wedding actually, I was very late with this, I took the subway a few stops extra from where I actually lived at the time, and I ended up at a random mall. So I decided, why not walk in here and see what they have? I came across a party store and I found this beautiful white dress on sale there. It was originally $200, but it was put down to $15. I tried it on and I was like, you know what? To me, this looks like a wedding dress. So my trick here for you is if you want to save potentially thousands, because let's face it, wedding dresses are sometimes really overspending budget posts during the wedding day. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna put a veil with this. I'm gonna put bigger and kind of more like attention grabbing bouquet with this. I'm gonna do my hair up all nice, put on some jewelry, and you know what? When I told people what my dress cost, they were like hysterically laughing because they couldn't believe that that's what I decided to go for, but they could totally see how it was looking like a wedding dress. So whatever you go for, think about the accessories more. Think about the whole package and not just the dress. Yes, you can get some pretty good deals on wedding dresses that are actually wedding dresses that are more than $15, but it's more about the accessories and the complete package than it is just the dress itself. If you want to save money, rather spend a little bit more on your veil and your bouquet and you'll be good. But actually my veil was cheaper than my dress, so I can't really say that I did that. Next way I saved money is on the venue. Instead of renting a really, really expensive church and venue, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna make the insides nice and not really care too much about how nice the venue is on the outside. And I saved so much money doing this. In fact, I got married and had the party in the very same building, and I got a fantastic deal on it. I think I spent, was it $500 or less on the venue and church together, which is very good where I was living. And as far as pictures goes, because they're not really beautiful venues and you can't take pictures outside the venues, we just drove to a beautiful old church down the street and we took pictures outside of that church. So you have those stony, beautiful, ancient walls and the green park around the church. We just made sure that this was okay with the people who owned the church, and we also made sure there wasn't another bride there at the same time because that would have been awkward. I didn't want to just photobomb another bride's what do you call it? Reception. Now, as far as saving money on the photographer, this is what we did. I had a friend who is amazing at pictures, and I asked her, hey, you know what? I cannot afford to pay you for a whole day, but this is what I could do. I'm gonna invite you to my party and you can have food and, pretend you're a guest the whole day and do it relaxed. And in return for you coming out, I promise that I will do something for you when you get married. I'm gonna do your hair and makeup because actually that was something I was doing already at the time professionally. So we ended up exchanging services and both of us saved a lot of money and it was a win-win. So if you can figure out how to be a win-win for somebody in your life that's really good with photography, then that is really good. Now, if you can't, what lots of people do is they give out cameras or ask different, hobby photographers in their family to all take pictures. That way you get lots of people that could potentially fail with the pictures, but you get it for free. And there's also not so much pressure on each person. And if you can direct them to do this, ask them to take the pictures in RAW format, because then you can actually send your pictures to wedding editing services like this one, and they will usually take all your pictures for a fee and edit them, crop them, do all the color grading and all of that. That way you have amazing looking pictures, but you didn't even pay anything for it except for the editing, like the post-editing fee. That way you can save lots of money. Another way to get some beautiful wedding pictures, if you have to edit them yourself, is to do lots of them in black and white. Black and white is timeless, and even if you don't know anything about photography, then if you have some pictures from your wedding day, doing them in black and white is a classic, and it'll always be timeless because we know decades ago people took black and white pictures and people still do today. So that's how you know it'll be timeless and free. Next thing is to ask for money as gifts. Now, I want to be very careful with this one because it's kind of not etiquette to ask for money. You have to think about it from the guest perspective, how uncomfortable that can feel. When you give gifts or, something physical, it's easier to disguise the value. And if somebody's on a budget or struggling financially, they will still feel comfortable showing up with their gift to your wedding because they're kind of betting on that you don't know what it is worth. Like, honestly, that is a completely legitimate fear for your guests to have. And that's why asking for money can be an uncomfortable thing for guests to hear. Some guests might even be so embarrassed that they're struggling financially that they don't even want to show up to your wedding. And that's obviously not how you want to make people feel. So really be careful with this one. But if your situation acceptably allows for this, I would not be scared to hint to people that that would be the ideal wedding gift for you guys. There are ways to kind of tactfully say this in the invitations. I will leave that up to you on how to word it or how to spread the word that that is what you prefer. But the situation is more what justifies it. So that's the tip that I'm going to share with you. Situations that makes it more easy for guests to understand that you're asking for this is, number one, if this is an elopement wedding, because they know you're going to somewhere else and you have to take all of your belongings with you back. Not only is it harder for guests to bring gifts to your destination if they're joining part of the elopement wedding. Some people have elopements, but it's still with family members. So it'll be easier for them to bring the gifts to you when they're traveling. Or if you have a destination wedding, this is also understandable because how the heck are you supposed to bring back 10 suitcases of gifts? Another way to do this is to ask for gift cards or, physical money because you're getting married in a country you're not necessarily going to end up living in. This was true for my husband and I. We were getting married in Norway, but we knew that we eventually would move to Canada. In fact, my husband didn't even have his Norwegian visa at the time. That makes it a lot harder. To depend on the fact that you're going to stay in that country, and you can indicate this to your guests and they will completely understand that you don't want to pay for, thousands of dollars to have all the wedding gifts shipped over to the country you're actually going to be residing in. Or simply by asking for gift cards. I think this one is a little bit more acceptable to people because it is actually a gift and it doesn't sound as greedy, I guess, which I don't think it is greedy to ask for money. But I think I can totally understand why it comes across that way. Gift cards is a good way to go. Maybe indicate the stores that you will be way more likely to purchase things in. Or you can simply express, you know what, we're young, this wedding costs a lot for us, so just to recuperate some of the costs, we would appreciate monetary gifts, but no pressure. You don't even have to say this in the invitation, but spreading it by word of mouth or having whoever's in charge of organizing your wedding tell it to the guests. That is what we did because we were moving back to Canada, and honestly, we just couldn't take all of those gifts. Not only would they have European plugs, which is also what we explained to people, that if you bought us electronic gifts and stuff, we couldn't even use them in Canada because there's different plugs there. Anyway, moving on to flowers. The way we saved on flowers is that on the tables, we decorated just with roses that you bought at the grocery store. You can usually get a good deal on buying them there. And because you can buy it the same day or the day before, you don't really have to worry about storing it in a fridge or making sure they're fresh, like a florist would make sure. And we spread that out throughout the tables to give a little bit more of a luxurious feel to the wedding. And then in addition to that, we actually asked, because we have a florist friend, we asked her if instead of her giving us a wedding gift, if she would be willing to just pay for what the bouquets cost and give that to us instead. That way I had a beautiful bouquet that was a gift from one of my friends, and she also provided beautiful bouquets for the whole wedding party as well. And what we did with the whole wedding parties, or I mean all my bridesmaids bouquets, is we used those as the decorations. So after they were done with them for pictures and for the ceremony, they were instructed to put them in the designated vases on the tables. That way we had beautiful fresh flowers as decor, but we saved lots of money. Now on how to save money for the food. This is where I regret not taking more time. You know, I haven't gotten married before. How would I know these things? You only get one chance, and I should have ordered a lot more food than I did, but it seemed that it was just enough. But the thing with weddings is you're supposed to eat enough food that, you know, there's still food left over. Kind of supposed to stuff yourself. That's the general rule of thumb with weddings that I've learned now. But the way we did it is to save money on catering. We didn't actually have anybody deal with food or serving food. We had a buffet and we had lots of food so people could just go and choose what they wanted. Now we did pay for some catering in the sense that people brought food there, but we didn't pay for any staff. So that eliminated the staff cost. And also I forgot a wedding cake. So I ended up just last minute placing a bunch of cupcakes in a triangular fashion and putting a man and a woman on top. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. And yes, can you believe it? Yeah, I really was that stupid. I forgot a wedding cake. I'm only human. And it was a very, quickly planned wedding as well. I started just a couple months before. So I think I did decent for the time being. But anyway, next way we saved a lot of money on our wedding is instead of having live bands and live music and entertainment, we did have an MC that planned out all the entertainment, and our friends as well gave some good performances. And then we just used a music subscription. I forget what it was. It wasn't even my subscription. I didn't even pay for the subscription, which is like $9 a month or whatever. It was like somebody else's Spotify account where I made a playlist that went running through the whole day. Now, as far as decorations go, the way that we saved money on this was that actually I have a friend that had an antique store, and I asked, could I rent this or borrow this? And he said I can actually borrow it for free. But even if I were to rent whatever I found in the antique store, it would have still saved me a ton of money because decorations can really eat up the budget. So I went around and I selected all the gold items I could find because it went with my theme. Then I bought some IKEA fabric to put on the tables, and it was so cheap but looked a lot more luxurious than what it was. So I recommend, if you have any sort of network, anybody who owns a used store, or you even just have a used store, ask them, hey, what would you charge if I were to rent a bunch of items from your store to decorate with? And you might end up getting a really good deal that way. We just returned it afterwards and it was all good. I have a lot more ways that we saved money on our wedding, but those were the basics. I hope I gave you some ideas, or if you ever have a daughter, save this video to your future YouTube playlist if YouTube is still around. Like this video to support my small channel, and tell me what you want to see next on my YouTube channel as far as financial tips for women goes. Until next time, bye, and check out these two videos on personal finance.